To add a site, go to the Site section of the software. Here you see all your current sites. To manually add a site, click Add Site. Set the name of the site, the location of the site, choose a depot, and answer whether the cameras are permitted on site or whether we're going to be managing the stock control for the site. We'll cover stock control in a separate video. Hit Save. When you create your site for the first time, you'll see there's a guide here detailing what's required to get the site up and running. Okay, until we've completed these 4 options, the site won't appear on any of the apps. So first job is to add a customer. Click the link. Existing customers can be found by searching the drop down list, or you can add a new customer by clicking the Add Customer button. Give them a name, type in their address, telephone number, website and email. They're all optional. Click Save. Once you've added your customer, you need to give the contract a name. Whatever makes sense to you. Set the contract reference as well. Every time you do a new contract for a site on new site, it will be 0001. You can't change this after the site has been set up, so make sure you set whatever you want in there at this stage. Choose a contract type. You can add options to that list in the configuration. Contract description. Type a description of the contract. This is going to be whatever is pertinent or makes sense to you and your team. So we're just going to put there's a few tick box answers down the bottom here, whether or not the customer is the main contract, whether you want the users to be able to bypass the customer signature, if there's an agreed schedule of rates for the variations, whether or not you'll be carrying out inspections, whether handover photos are mandatory, and whether or not you want the users to be able to dismantle the scaffold without producing an off-hire certificate. Select your preferences and click Save. So now we've added the contract and the first customer. The next step is to add a customer contact. This is someone who's going to be receiving the emails with the handover certificates, inspections, variations, etc. So obviously we need the contact name first of all, whether or not they're a site or office contact, their email address. It's important to make sure this is correct, otherwise they won't receive the inspections and the handover reports, and then which reports you wish that client to receive. Click Save. You can also add yourself as a contact so that you receive a copy of all the emails being sent out by the software. Click Yes. Next step is to add a staff member. So we click Add Staff Member. You get a full list of all your users. Choose who you want to be assigned to the site and click Save. It's worth noting that when you log into either of the apps, you will only see sites that you've been assigned to. So if you've got any users that can't see a site for whatever reason, it's often the case that they haven't been assigned on the web console. The final step is to add our scaffolds. Before we add any scaffolds, it's important to set up the areas for the site, if there are any. Smaller sites, you may well just have a single area. Larger sites, you want to break that site down into geographical locations so it's easier for the guys to locate the scaffolds when they're on site in the app. So to add an area, click Add, give the area a name, and click Save. And just repeat that process until you've added all your relevant areas to the site. Okay, we can now add a scaffold. So we're going to set the scaffold name. Scaffold name can be anything that makes sense to you. Choose the area. You can set, if the scaffold's already on hire, you can set the next inspection date. This scaffold needs to be handed over, so we'll leave that blank. Set the contract period. Choose whether the scaffold's on hire, we'll leave that to no, and whether or not it's going to be affected by adverse weather. Click next, and now we can set up the scaffold details. So we can choose scaffold type, be independent, type the scaffold description. I'm just going to do basic dimensions, 4 ports. Basic description of the scaffold, your quote number, and item name, design type, loading limit, method of tying, and method of cladding. And then click save. That site's now ready to go. First scaffold's been added. You can continue to add your scaffolds here on the console, or you can add them via the app while you're actually out on site if you prefer. To add additional contracts or customer contacts, go to the contract section. To add a new contract, hit new contract and repeat the process. To add new contacts to an existing contract, go to customer contacts, and here we can add additional recipients and email addresses to get those reports. And under smart scaffolder contacts, you can add additional contacts within your company to receive copies of those emails, inspection and handover reports. Okay. To add additional scaffolds, go to scaffolds. You can see the one we've added already. We can now continue to either import them from a CSV file, or we can copy and paste them in from a spreadsheet. Alternatively, we can add them using the method that we've just detailed. To import a CSV file, you need to create the CSV file in the correct format. You can download a template for the import here. The template will look something like this. As you can see, got a variety of columns: scaffold name, description, area, scaffold type, loading limit, method of tying, method of cladding, and so on. All the same details that we added when we created the scaffold individually. I've pre-filled a few here. It's quite easy to type these in. Also, you can copy and paste bulk amounts, which for larger housing and sites speeds the time up a lot. When you're ready, save your template. Make sure when you save it, you choose to save it as a CSV file, otherwise the import won't work. Hit save. Okay, and then when you're done, you can go to your import on the Smart Manager, hit browse, locate the CSV file, and then go to next. Choose the contract you wish to import the scaffolds to, click next, and you can see it's brought through all the scaffolds from the spreadsheet. Some of the boxes are blank where I hadn't filled them in on the spreadsheet. You can go through and manually fill in the blanks for anything that you've missed. Okay. When you're happy, click save. All the scaffolds have now been added to the software. You'll notice that the scaffolds I imported had different areas listed than the areas I had already created on this site. If we go back to the site details screen, you'll now see that the areas were imported along with those scaffolds from the CSV file and added alongside the existing areas for the site.